Take two. It takes two of us. What's up, guys? I love you. Maine and Nivert here, talking all about heart health. We are stretching heart health into March because why not? I got so much to say. Yes. I am going to be hopefully joined by my girl Hilleree, who is going to help shed some awareness on SCAD. SCAD, I was talking about it. Spontaneous coronary artery dissection. One lady's, one guy, and it's so funny because all these people are asking to join, and I can like tap on them, and I can ask, oh, there she is. Let's hope this is them. No, it's not her. Okay, let's see. But that is her asking, I don't want to go live with them. I want to go live with one person. Let's see if I can get it to work. For some reason, Hilleree, okay, I have her thing clicked. I'm sending her, fingers crossed. Hilleree is actually a client of mine. Her good friend, Jen, sent me an email at the beginning of February talking about, it's Hilleree! Yay!
I did it.
You did it! Oh my God. I can only imagine the stress.
Well, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. You look
Perfect.
absolutely stunning. I'm so excited to chat.
Thanks. It's been a long day.
I know. I was like, are you free Tuesday at 8 p.m.?
Yeah.
And I think you're on Eastern Standard Time, right?
I am. So my husband's putting the kids to bed. It's all good.
Hey, we like that.
Yes.
We love that. Yeah, well, I'm excited to chat. I was just kind of giving a little background and we'll kind of jump in. Jen, your good friend, reached out to me, and
Yes.
I can only imagine, all of this going down, coming back from a girls' trip. I'll just give everybody kind of a brief synopsis, and then you can kind of jump in. But coming back from a trip, you became very ill, rushed to the hospital, and you were having a heart attack.
I was. We didn't know it at the time. We were actually doing about a 3.5, 4 hour drive through the Rocky Mountains. So we were going from where we had been all weekend back to our friend's home. And you don't pass a lot of cars in some places. There's not a lot of towns. And I fell asleep in the car like I usually do. And when I woke up, I had this crushing chest pain. So I thought I'd just ride it out a bit, see what happens, take some deep breaths. It wasn't getting better. It was actually getting worse. So I finally said to them, I'm like, all right, guys, if there's a hospital nearby, I think we better go. So yeah, I don't even know by what powers, but our one friend managed to have cell reception and realized that we were 3 kilometers away from probably the only hospital, for a good hour each way. And they took me to it. It had a total of 16 beds in it, so a very, very small hospital.
Tiny.
Yep. And I couldn't walk in at this point. They wheeled me in. My friend's in a wheelchair. And we basically shut down the ER that day, the 3 beds that they had. And the nurse looked at me and she handed me 2 baby aspirins and said, chew them. And I looked at her and I said, what? Like, I know what this means. And she said, yeah, that's what it looks like. So, the first thought I had was, how unhealthy am I to have a heart attack at 41?
41. So you're 41 years old.
I was 41. And it's actually, it's 2 years tomorrow that this happened. So this is great timing.
I love that.
Yeah. So things went downhill pretty quickly from there. I did end up having to have CPR. I coded the whole 9 yards. They did a lot of what tests they had available to them, and they knew pretty early that it was pretty severe. So they had it's called STARS in Western Canada, but they had the air ambulance come and get me. It took about 4 hours between when I first went into that hospital until they wheeled me into the surgery. the doctor said to me as they, I literally went from the helicopter to the operating room, and he said to me, this type of heart attack, we don't usually like to do surgery, but we're going to try and put some stents in. And if that doesn't work, you're going for open heart surgery. So, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I was reading, and I mean, it says like it can be like sudden death
yeah.
if it is not treated immediately.
Yeah, it's true. So essentially, with this type of heart attack, it's not your typical blockage with plaques and high cholesterol, those types of things. It's actually so the arteries, the coronary arteries, the ones that supply the heart, they get one of them or multiple can get a tear from the inside, and then as blood continues to flow, it actually gets between those layers, and it
Kind of like
either
rips it.
it rips it further, or the blood gets kind of behind the layers and causes a clot as it clots, and then that clot becomes a blockage. Sometimes there's a flap that can I'm not quite sure what type mine was, but I do know that the main artery in my heart, well, one of the bigger ones, the one that really covers supply for the front of the heart, for me it was 100% blocked. They call that type a widowmaker, because
Oh, yeah.
essentially, yeah, it's usually
Not good.
right. It's usually pretty fatal. So they were able to restore the flow. They put in 2 stents, which is a little tiny, like a metal
Mesh.
meshy, yeah, a mesh piece that kind of opens up the artery again. And so long term for me, I've got about 92% of my heart that still works. There's a really small part at the bottom, because of the amount of time it took between when things happened and when they were able to restore flow. I have a small piece that doesn't beat anymore, but it doesn't really have a lot of impact. So on a number of different fronts, I was pretty lucky that I had the symptoms that I had, which are not typical for women. Um, and
So
because
let
of
me
the,
ask you this.
sure.
I mean, was it just like can you look back the week before, the month before? Because I don't, I mean, is it a like basically rip like heart attack, or is it kind of like an ongoing injury that gets kind of worse and worse and worse?
So I think it can be both, to be
Okay.
honest with you. And I think it just depends on where it is and what happens. For me, I can look back and I can see. So I flew out on a Thursday, and on that flight, halfway through, I had some chest pain, really minor compared to what I experienced the day that it happened.
Right.
But it was still enough that it stopped me, and I actually, it took my breath away, but it went away. I was left though after that day, after that episode on the airplane, I had indigestion, or what I thought was indigestion, and it lasted, I don't know, 14 hours. And it wasn't like a constant throbbing pain, but it was there, it was naggy, and enough that I said to my friends probably 3 or 4 times throughout the day, like, I don't know what I ate, but wow, like, my stomach's really bothering me. The next day it was gone. We went
Yeah.
downhill skiing, we went hiking, we went, drinking and all that girl stuff.
Yeah.
And then I guess the full blown happened on Sunday in the car.
In the car.
Yeah.
So up until that point in the airplane, you can't really. There was nothing that kind of triggered that something may be happening.
I never would have thought that
Hmm.
this is what would happen. And this type of heart attack, it does happen to men, but it's 80%, around 80 to 90%
Women.
of them happen to women, young women who
Yeah.
have no
Well,
risk factors. So,
right.
I mean, that was one of the questions. Well, a lot of the questions in the hospital. Do you have high blood pressure? Nope. Do you
So I
have
was.
diabetes? Nope.
Nope.
Like,
Yeah.
went through everything. And
Had you just had a child? Because I'm looking at the risk factors right now, and it says female sex,
yep.
recent childbirth.
My daughter was 2. My youngest was 2,
Okay.
almost 3. So that was probably not really postpartum.
Not really. I thought that was really interesting, though.
Mm-hmm.
Some women have this type of heart event after giving birth, underlying blood vessel conditions,
Yep.
inherited connective tissue diseases, very high blood pressure. So,
Yeah.
um,
It
but it
didn't.
does, it sounds like it just is like, well, like it says, spontaneous.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people, I guess, or some women, they can attribute it to a very stressful time in their life, or a really high physical exertion. A lot of them, the men, it seems to be, like a super heavy lifting or something really, strenuous on, I guess, on that side of
I mean,
things.
what
And
kind of girls' weekend are y'all having? Lordy.
she come.
Jen, Hilleree, it's my kind of weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah.
yeah. So what's been your recovery? Like, what are you doing right now to continue to maintain your heart?
So I'm on medication for life, and most people who've had this type of heart attack end up on baby aspirin as well as a beta blocker. And they think that those have some protective mechanism to it that might prevent another. About 25% of people go on to have multiples of
Yeah,
the,
I was
yeah,
asking, like, is
yeah.
your risk of having more?
So my risk is probably no greater than anybody else's
Okay.
I don't have the underlying vascular stuff. I don't have any of those, the um, autoimmune diseases that often they seem to come with it. So, I'm betting, I'm going to play my cards on this one that hopefully
Yeah.
I'll be in the 80% that doesn't, or the
Yeah.
75%.
Do
So
you think? Oh, go ahead.
this way, I do have some restrictions. I can't have any more kids, which that was fine with me.
You got three.
Yeah, I'm done. And then I can't get my heart rate above 130.
Mm,
One of the medications that I'm on automatically lowers it. I shouldn't say I can't. It's not recommended for me to get it super high for long
yeah.
periods of time.
Yeah.
And the other thing is lifting. I have a lifting restriction of 25 to 30 pounds. So,
Wow.
yeah, and I think the men, they often recommend around 50 pounds.
Okay.
And nobody really knows, right? They think it's rare, but they don't think it's as rare as initially thought. They
Mm-hmm.
just they're just learning more about it. Probably the last 5 to 10 years, the information and the research being done is huge.
Yeah.
So they're learning a lot more about it. They now know how to test for it,
Really?
and not test for it, but how to diagnose it properly, which
Okay.
can be done through an angio.
Right.
But a lot of the times women will go into hospital and their EKG will be normal. Their, all of those typical tests will be normal. And it's not until they do a specific blood test. So it's really hard. I mean, I guess if I had to give advice, the biggest piece that I would say is that as a woman, you really have to advocate, right? And you have to listen to your body. And a lot of the cardiac research and a lot of the cardiac testing has been done on men, and they don't really know what it looks like for a woman. So if you think something's wrong, you really do need to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, I thought it would be interesting just to kind of go through. I mean, I know it's my father, he had a heart attack. He had his first heart attack very young.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure he was in his 40s, late 40s, early 40s. And I remember him saying that he had watched like a show, like a month earlier that kind of highlighted the symptoms of a heart attack. And I thought it would be good for us just to kind of go through those. Maybe the 73 people that are sitting here watching this, will learn what to look at. So, obviously, I mean, and it sounds like you had like excruciating chest pain.
I did, and that's not really typical for women. That
Mm-hmm.
that tends to be more, what the guys get really. For women, they talk about that indigestion.
Yeah, indigestion.
Yeah, and
And
and for me, it was like right under my sternum, kind of between my ribs type pain, and then it went away. So did I
yeah,
miss it? I don't know, but
yeah. Somebody was asking if you knew what the specific blood test that you should
oh,
have.
well, they test for troponins when you go into the hospital, and it's a protein marker, I think, that when it's in your blood at a certain level, it indicates that cardiac tissue is dying.
It's been torn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you,
Yeah.
I know other symptoms are like shortness of breath,
Yep. Yep. Nausea.
nausea.
They do
Yes.
also say for women, extreme fatigue, which, I had 3 kids. I was working. I mean, I think as a woman, it's a tough one to call, right? But they do
Right.
say extreme fatigue. Neck pain, jaw pain is another really common one for women.
Hmm.
Pain down the arm, shortness
And
of
both
breath.
arms.
Yeah,
Like
I
sometimes
had both
there's,
arms.
yeah, sometimes,
Hmm.
people are like, oh, it's my left arm that
Yeah,
hurts. So it's not a heart attack, but it can be radiating pains down both arms,
yeah,
in your neck, in your jaw,
yep.
you know,
Between your shoulder blades and your back.
in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those would be the big ones for women. Very different from men.
Yeah. And I think
Hmm.
it's interesting, I think anytime that you have something that, like, had you ever had indigestion before?
Only when I was pregnant, and
Yeah.
it did not last for that long. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And so I think anytime you have something that you're like, oh, well, that's new, I've never felt that before. I think it's always good to, kind of second guess that for
yeah,
sure, for
yeah.
sure. So I love that. I love that. I mean, I just can't even imagine. Like, I feel like I have friends just like Jen and the other crew. I mean, definitely you had some angels watching over you
Yes.
with the quickness in which you guys found a hospital and they were able to get you airlifted. It's a miracle. I love it.
Yeah,
I
it
love
is.
it. Yeah.
I do practice a lot of gratitude, and really try to, you know, live in the moment, I guess, because it can change pretty quick.
It can change really quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let us know if you have any questions about spontaneous coronary artery dissection. I think, I hear of other, kind of younger women that have, for example, my really close friend, Jonna, maybe she's watching, she had a congenital heart defect that was never
Oh,
diagnosed. And it wasn't until she had her son, and it kind of just triggered this massive heart event. And we see that, often I mean, not often, but you'll see like an athlete just like go down on the court,
yeah.
and it's these kind of like underlining conditions that, don't match up with the traditional heart disease and things like that. So, it's good to kind of know what all could possibly happen and how you can, seek care fast. And I think that that's really the key. Like,
Yeah.
if you feel like anything is out of the norm, then it's like, definitely do not pass go. Like, go straight to the hospital and get
Exactly.
yourself checked out. And
Yeah,
and I love what you said. You do have to advocate for yourself.
you do.
In terms of, this ain't right. Don't tell me it's right.
Yeah.
This
I
is not
heard
right.
someone describe it to me once. They said, you need to advocate for yourself like you would for your child or for your mother or your friend, right? You need to now do that for yourself when it comes to it. And,
Yeah.
I think as moms, we kind of get that, right?
Yeah,
As a
and
friend. Yeah.
that's such a great way to put it, because I think, especially as women and mothers, we are probably more apt to stand up for everybody else
Yes.
but ourselves,
Yeah.
you know? So I love that. Well, thank you so much, Hilleree, for
Thank
joining
you.
me from
Yeah.
Canada. I gotta get up there to see you guys for
Yes,
sure.
you do.
I appreciate you being willing to share your story. I agree with your friend Jen when she was talking about, it's just great to spread awareness. So hopefully someone's watching this that will help kind of save their life. Let's see. Amy says, is
Exactly.
there anything that contributes to this, or can it just happen to anyone? So yeah, there's
Yeah.
well, we talked about, there might be some correlation between like having a child
Yeah.
or connective tissue disease, but at this point they really don't know what causes it. It
Right.
sounds like it's a little bit of a, kind of a freak accident of
Yeah.
some sort. So be aware of the signs and symptoms. so that if something like this pops up, you can seek care immediately.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so
Yeah.
much, Hilleree.
Thank you.
Yay. I love
Take care.
you. You too. Bye, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.